Hey, welcome back to Chasing Giants TV, everyone. I'm out here planting my corn plots today and just kind of wanted to go over the process that I've used this year in planting these plots. So this plot that I'm standing in is, it was soybeans last year. So I came in probably 2-3 weeks ago and I sprayed a burn down. I basically just used glyphosate. And I threw a little bit of residual in at that time. The weather was very wet, and the prediction for the forecast at that time was for more wet weather. I wasn't sure how quick I was going to get into plant. Typically, I would like to have my corn in at the end of April, but here we are mid-May and finally getting it in. But anyway, I threw a little residual in there just to keep any weeds from coming on until I got a chance to plant. And that finally happened today. It dried up enough, but to go through the whole process after I did that burn down, I cleaned out my cattle barn and put a lot of manure on this plot. I hate to say how many tons, but easily probably a ton per acre of that fresh manure that'd been piling up in the barn over the winter. And then I came in on top of that and I spread biochar, and I put that down at a rate of about 1,500 pounds per acre. And lots of benefits there. The benefit that I like the most with the biochar is that those little granules of biochar will actually, different nutrients will adhere to that. Nutrients like your nitrogen for the corn, that's really important for a good corn crop. They will adhere to those granules of biochar and they won't leach out of the soil. Just a lot of other benefits, and as I've said in previous videos, you just need to do a search on biochar and the benefits, because there's a long list. And actually we should probably do a video on that, and we will here in the coming weeks, because that's going to be important moving forward. And having that biochar holding those nutrients at the level where the plant can utilize it, up closer to the surface rather than having it leach away into the soil, is real critical when you're farming for nutrients. We need to get as many of those micro and macro nutrients into or right there at the plant level as we possibly can. So that's the basis behind that. Then I came in after that biochar was spread, and I worked the ground. Now I'm trying to get away from a lot of this tillage, and the reason I worked it this year is I wanted to get that biochar worked down off of the surface into the first few inches of the soil a little bit. Biochar, you only have to apply it once, and it lasts for hundreds of years, so it's not something I need to do continually, every spring when I plant. We got it down there, below the surface now, or mixed within that first few inches of the topsoil. And I'm hoping, my plan is that this will be the last year that this plot has ever worked. It'll be no-till from here on out if things go according to plan. But we know how that works. Sometimes they don't. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But anyway, on this, there's actually 3 corn plots on my farm that I'm planting. This is the last of the 3. One of those will be in our Nutri-Crave, Real World's Nutri-Crave corn. And the other 2 are a couple of test corns, test varieties that we're testing out. Only test them on 2 farms this year, my farm and Terry Pierce farm in Kentucky. We just didn't have enough seed to spread it out any further than that. But I wanted a Nutri-Crave on the farm as well, because I want to be able to compare the nutrient content of these test varieties against Nutri-Crave this fall. And we're always striving to get better. If there's something better out there, we want to know about it, we want to try it. So you guys think that you know something better than Real World products, by all means share that with us, or share it with me personally, because I want to test it. There's not a year goes by that I'm not testing several new seed varieties on my farm in a effort to get better. And as Terry and I have said on the Chasing Giants podcast, 90% of the time, whatever we're testing is never going to make it to the next phase. And the next phase would be, like this corn that we're testing here, for example. If it works out on Terry and I's farm, next year we'll do our best to secure enough seed that we can share it with a select group of people. You know, I'm talking 6, 8, 10 people at most, different regions of the country, to see how it performs, you know, across a wide geographic area. If it does well there, then we do our pilot program, where we make a limited amount. Usually it's about a ton or so pallet of whatever product we're testing. We'll offer that as a pilot program through Real World and get feedback again. If it passes that test, then we make it a full-fledged Real World product. But one of the key takeaways here is the testing never ends. I think today I'm convinced that Real World's Nutri-Crave corn is the most nutrient-dense corn out there. Haven't found anything that competes with it yet. If you think you know of something, please let us know, because we'd like to add it to our testing program in a real world setting, just like here on my farm. So, you know, all these 3 varieties this year that are on my farm, they're separated so that they can't cross-pollinate, or cross-pollination will be very, very limited. Anytime there's corn within a mile or so, that pollen can blow in the air for a long ways, but you know, the majority of that pollination is going to happen with the plants that are growing close together. So I've got some separation by, you know, over 100 yards between these different corn plots, and we'll be checking those out there, or the grain analysis this fall, to see how they compare. But so that's it, you know, for my corn planting for this year. Kind of a rundown of everything that we've done. I will say that this fall I'll be looking to overseed this corn plot, or all my corn plots really, with rye and harvest salad. Kind of like to mix those two, go a little bit heavier on the rye. And the reason for that is rye has that, it's called allelopathic, it's almost like a natural herbicide. It's a great cover crop before soybeans. So I like ahead of my soybean plot to have a decent stand of rye to seed into. The new thing I'm going to be trying this year is into my soybean plots, which is right ahead, a year ahead of the corn, is planting a lot of hairy vetch. So hairy vetch is a legume. They use it a lot on organic farms where they don't use synthetic fertilizers and such. That legume, hairy vetch, will put enough nitrogen in the soil that if you allow it to mature until like about mid-May, it'll put enough nitrogen in the soil for a corn crop. And I'm going to try to get that planted into my soybeans this fall, let it come on next spring. It's a great, deer love it. It's absolutely a very nutrient dense food for the deer, but the big thing is what it does to the soil. It puts that nitrogen in there. And then my plan would be to terminate that next spring and be no-tilling my corn into that hairy vetch next spring. So I'm kind of at a stage where I'm in the process of shifting from more traditional ag practices to more holistic ag practices on my plot. And again, the key is nutrients in that food that I'm providing for the deer. I want the most nutrient dense food that I can supply to my deer. That's a 2-step process really. You got to address the seed, the varieties of seed you use, but you also got to address the soil. And that's what I'm doing with the biochar. And you know, I've applied humic acid to this plot as well. Did that a year ago. Humic is something that you only need to do about every 2 to 3 years. You don't use near as much. 200, 250 pounds an acre every 2 to 3 years is about ideal. So this plot has had that humic acid applied to it a year ago. But anyway, just keep following along as I shift my practices towards more holistic practices, and as I shift the entire food plot program on my farm to farming for nutrients, getting the most nutrient dense plots possible to grow the biggest deer possible. So anyway, be sure to comment below if you've got a seed you think that we should be testing here at Real World. And it doesn't matter if it's corn, soybeans, or anything else. We want to continue to be testing and make sure that what we're providing our customers is the best varieties out there for providing nutrient-dense plants for our deer. So anyway, hope you guys are having a great spring, getting your plots wrapped up. This is my last plot for the spring. Look forward to that last row. This has drug on a little bit longer than it typically does for me in the spring. But anyway, things are looking good now, and if we get some timely rains this summer, my deer ought to fare well next winter.